Is the Church of Scientology a cult? Well, I visited one in Philadelphia to go find out for myself. What's up, everyone? We're on our way to Philadelphia, right, Brandon?
Correct. I'm driving, don't distract me.
We are heading to the Church of Scientology. We're probably going to get there like an hour early, so we'll probably just screw around Philadelphia for a while until we actually are able to go inside. So we're on our way there. We should be in there about 10 minutes. See you then. We are in Philly right now, and we're definitely early, but we're going to go see where this Church of Scientology is, see what it looks like, get a head start on that, and then just cruise around for an hour.
Try to kill an hour.
Try to kill an hour. What do you know what direction it is?
I think it's that way, probably. Oh, that part looks shadier.
That part looks
Go this way.
So we're going to tour Philly a little bit, but we'll get a look at the building real quick.
It's a little cold out, looks good.
I'm actually.
If you had to gauge the temperature.
If I had to gauge the temperature, I think it's like 38, 40.
Did you just look at
Actually,
it?
no. I'm gonna go 42.
In Philadelphia, it's 56, 42. That's like almost freezing. It's like a second to think on what you said. I'm going this way. It's this way.
What you're the one telling me. You're the one telling me what to do.
Just look for the sign that says Scientology.
Is there a sign that says Scientology?
Probably. I don't know. Do they openly advertise it? Is that legal for them?
I'm sure it is.
Probably that building with the white dot.
That is definitely not the building. That is Benjamin Franklin.
That's got to be the building.
Dude, lovely city of Philadelphia.
It's a 5-minute walk straight ahead.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Right where the cops are.
Yeah,
Great.
For Sunday service, they have a police force out front.
Every hour before the service starts. Apparently Scientology is open from like 9 to 6 on Sundays. Which, it almost sounds like a business center than anything else when you say it like that.
I mean, there's a lot of arguments over whether or not they should be a church, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's been a debate for a while. A lot of people think they shouldn't get, tax breaks and stuff like that. But they do.
It's always about the money, deep down.
But then again, a lot of people argue that regular churches shouldn't get tax breaks either, so.
Yeah, if they're not conservative, they're not churches.
If they're not conservative.
They're not borderline Amish, they should. Yeah, that's right outside the building, I'm pretty sure.
Dude, there's literally cop cars just right outside the building. I don't know what's happening. We might not be able to go in.
Unless it's the big building with the W on the top at the end.
Big W for Scientology. Yeah, there's so many cops. What's going on right now?
The Masons?
The Masonic.
Is it actually the Masons?
Yeah, it's actually the Masons.
Oh.
We could go to the Masonic temple. Change of plans.
We're heading up 2 on one day. Are they open right now? We can head them for an hour.
You gotta kind of be invited to those things, though.
Nah.
So is the GPS still saying we're going the right way? I really don't know what I'm looking for.
It should be big building on the left.
Big building.
There used to be the building with all the squigglies on the side. I want it to be that one.
Scientology, I see it.
Where?
It's that squiggly building.
It is?
It's one of the two. There's two things in there, it looks like.
It's smaller than I imagined.
It honestly is. I feel like I thought I was gonna get richer quicker.
I was expecting big glass front doors.
I was expecting something a lot fancier. Well, apparently we're here.
Only pay uninformed. Public parking open.
Convenient convention center.
Alright.
Oh, so this building is it. Hubbard Dynamics Foundation and the Church of Scientology.
Oh, so these are their two?
These are the two things, yeah. Because Hubbard Dynamic or whatever is the guy who like started Scientology or something like that.
Are they closed today?
They open at 9.
No. Temporary police parking though.
So this is the place. All right, we got 5 minutes before Scientology opens.
Before we convert, yeah.
I mean, I don't plan on doing that, but So we'll see what it's like when we get inside. I don't know how they feel about video cameras inside, so I don't know how much footage I'll get inside, but I'll try to get as much as I can.
Alright.
So there we go.
Party hard.
Let's go.
Also, the mural is really pretty. Very, very nice mural.
This is the outside of the building. What does it mean?
I see electrical hazards.
Only slightly.
But I feel like that's everywhere. I asked all the questions I actually wanted to. So
Yeah.
I felt pretty good. That was like a very chill conversation.
We just left the Scientology building. It was a good experience, I think, overall.
Overall, like one of the best I've had visiting a new
Religion.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was non-aggressive. I didn't feel like we had to like defend ourselves or anything. It was just like a good talk.
Yeah. I feel like the audio's gonna suck with this thing right here, but anyway. But I think also what helped is that right out the gate, he knew our intentions. So
He
like
knew what
we weren't allowed to video record inside. They wouldn't let us do that. So that was fine. But we had like basically an hour and a half, 2 hour discussion with that guy I saw. But we got there at like 9:30.
And left at, what was it now, 11?
Yeah.
11:30. So yeah, solid 2 hours. I have no idea where we parked.
Where did we park? Where's the brush?
There's the brush. I think we parked across the street.
Are we going?
Now. Let's I don't know where we parked. Hang on.
Technical difficulties. The guy that we talked to was the events director of the Scientology building for like 10 years. So I figure he was like kind of like the head honcho. He wasn't.
Thank you, Apple Maps, for putting my car. I'm so lost.
But he was a nice guy.
It is dope. What was his name?
I actually don't know.
I don't remember his name.
I never asked, but I didn't figure I would use his name anyway, probably because I was like,
we'll call him Fred.
We'll call him
Fred.
Fred.
Yeah,
So-
remember? We used it was Fred. It's Fred. Yeah.
We'll just call him Fred.
Our guy Fred.
But yeah, he was the events director, and he just kind of showed us around a little bit, and basically gave us a history of Scientology and stuff like that. I'll probably tell you more when I'm in my like office space, so I don't have to deal with the bad audio. But yeah, so it was a good experience, and I think I learned a thing or two. I am not converting, but
Missing out.
man, but yeah,
Well, it's not a conversion. It's just an addition to your faith.
that was
We didn't
interesting.
confirm that.
It can be added to your faith, supposedly at least. So I will give more of my thoughts when I get back to my office.
I want you to deal with the bad audio.
Sadly, I wasn't allowed to video record inside the building. When I got in there, I was met at a receptionist desk. The guy that I met, I ended up finding out was the events director. He was the guy who basically showed us around and told us everything we needed to know about Scientology. But he told me right off the bat that I was not allowed to do any video recording inside the building. So sadly, I'm going to have to dictate you to what he told me and what we talked about and what I experienced. But we're going to have a fun time doing it anyway because I kept a lot of notes and he pretty much gave me permission to talk about whatever we talked about all day. He just didn't want me to video record anything. So let us begin. What did it look like on the inside? Now, if you would look up online pictures of the inside of a Church of Scientology, you'll see some big, luxurious lobbies and buildings and decoration stuff. And a lot of these are out in California, and they're the big churches out in that area because that's where Scientology began with L. Ron Hubbard. But the one in Philadelphia was extremely small, and as you saw on those vlog clips, it wasn't that big, it wasn't that flashy, it wasn't that shiny. It was actually rather modest. They were actually saving up money when we visited there to buy a bigger, much fancier building. They were saving up $14 million to buy another building for their Church of Scientology. So they weren't planning on staying there for much longer. However, the one that we visited and the one that they were currently in was very modest. When you walked inside, it basically looked like a business lobby. You had a receptionist desk, you had a couch with like a coffee table with some Scientology literature, and then you had almost like what was like a miniature bookstore within the lobby itself. And all it had was basically L. Ron Hubbard books and material along with study guides and things like that. During our discussion, we stood up and we walked around the building a little bit, and he showed us a little hallway that also contained more literature and sort of just the history of L. Ron Hubbard's literature. He showed us all his certain literature, and there was like a cafeteria area in the back. We didn't really walk into that, but I could see it. And then upstairs were counseling rooms and some sort of like seminar auditorium style room. We weren't going up there because at the time there were actually counseling sessions. And that was something we discovered, me and Brandon, when we showed up there, is that you're actually kind of expected to set up appointments. It's almost like counseling. You're expected to set up appointments to meet with a Scientologist person and to perform some of their practices or to attend a sermon or a lesson. So a lot of it is appointment based, and a lot of it has to do with becoming a member and then being able to participate. And to become a member, you apparently have to sign a billion-year contract. It sounds crazy, but that is what I discovered, and I was not aware of that to begin with. But what did we actually talk about? We talked for 2 hours. So we showed up there around 9:30, and we left around 11:30. We sat on the couch in that lobby for most of it. We walked around a little bit as well. But we sat there and talked about Scientology, and he let us basically ask any question we wanted to ask, and he would let us know what the answer was if he could let us know at all. He started off by sharing with us his own personal testimony of how he became a Scientologist. He was the events director at this building for about 10 years now and was a Scientology member for over 50, I think it was. It was around 50 years because he became a Scientology member shortly after college and he was in his 70s. According to the events director, he graduated from Cornell University with a degree in engineering. He was going through a hard place in life. He lost his fiancée. Things were just in the dumps. He mentally wasn't doing great. And he came across this woman who he said seemed different. She happened to be a Scientology member and encouraged him to attend some courses on what they taught and to learn more about Scientology. Well, as he did this, he started to discover more mental clarity, he started to have more spiritual awakening, and he became a better person mentally, according to him. And so, to him, it was a wonderful experience out of college, and it helped him get back on his own 2 feet, and he said he's been doing great ever since. Following his testimony, he shared with us a little bit of Scientology history. As I already said, L. Ron Hubbard was the founder of Scientology. He was born around 1911 or so, and he lived many lives through his lifetime. And what I mean by that is he had many different experiences. He was in the Navy, he was in the Marines as well, I think a little bit. He went to college for a little bit about nuclear science and physics because that was the new thing at the time. He also was a big-time writer. He was primarily known for his science fiction up until he started writing about Scientology material. And he was sort of everywhere. He had a lot of connections with the government, a lot of connections with big prominent names. And so he was kind of this big name in a lot of different areas. Of course, he's remembered today for being the founder of Scientology. As he grew up in around the 1930s and 40s era when he started to develop this new philosophy called Dianetics, he didn't really enjoy or like the psychological world. He found it to be sort of dubious. He thought it was very theoretical and not very helpful. And he came across this theory of Dianetics, and I'll delve a little bit more into that a little bit later in this video. After he discovered Dianetics, he started to practice his philosophy, and as he practiced it, he found breakthrough. His friends he was practicing it on found breakthrough. Mentally speaking, they found more clarity and excitement in it. And his book, Dianetics, became a New York Times bestseller, sold nationwide, and it started a big, huge following. And as this big, huge following started to grow, and as this philosophy started to develop, and as he added more rituals and practices and spiritual emphasis into the Church of Scientology, it became a nationwide religion and gained religious exemption status with the government. But what is Dianetics, and what do Scientologists actually believe? According to the events director, he explained to us the basics of Scientology. According to the events director, Scientology is less concerned with dogmatic theology about God's existence and moral codes, and more interested in what they call mental clarity, or what they call being clear, which is going from a reactive mind to a analytical mind. This is the philosophy of Dianetics. The mind is made up of 2 things, reactive and analytical. Reactive mind stores up
trauma and past hurts and doesn't think very logically and just reacts, as the name implies. So, for instance, if someone was hurt in their past and they don't deal with it, they don't analyze it, and they don't go through it, they will continue to react illogically and make poor decisions. But if they use more of their analytical mind, they'll make better, more logical decisions, and they'll be clear, as the word goes. And originally, when L. Ron Hubbard started Scientology, the way you would discover clarity was through auditing. So people would lay down on their backs, and they still do this. Like, this is actually their practice. This is one of their big practices within Scientology, is they will lay on their back, close their eyes, as someone continues to ask them to keep running through memories. And they keep running through memories, the same memory over and over and over again until they get all the details down and basically have the full picture of the memory in their head to the fullest extent they can possibly get to. And if they don't find the root to their problems or their trauma in that memory, then they'll go back to another memory that led into that memory until they go through a series of memories and go through great detail through these memories, and they get to what they may call a base memory, or like the root of the problem. And once they get to that root memory that is the source of their reactive mind or that certain trauma or problem they're trying to deal with, then they will gain clarity and know how to proceed forward from there to find resolution to their problems. In a lot of ways, this transition from reactive mind to analytical mind and auditing sounded a lot like just counseling. So I, of course, asked the question, how did you gain religious exemption on this sort of practice? Well, apparently while L. Ron Hubbard and his friends started developing Scientology, there were many reports of spiritual experiences. So, for instance, there were many reports of out-of-body experiences while doing auditing. There were reports of what they may call almost like false memories that people were creating. So, for instance, a specific example the events director gave us was that there was this lady who had a fever, and she was doing auditing while she had a fever. And she claimed that she was burned at the stake as a witch in her past. And she went through his memory with the person auditing her, and she could tell it in great detail. And L. Ron Hubbard interpreted this data to mean that there is a spiritual being within the human. And he started adding more practices and philosophy into Scientology to create not only mental clarity through Dianetics and the practice of auditing, but also to include practices that will include spiritual clarity, becoming more spiritually well-rounded as a human being. So since Hubbard and Scientologists believe in a spiritual being and practice certain rituals and do certain things to gain spiritual clarity and spiritual health, it is considered religious for that reason. And the events director admitted that it's more like Buddhism and follows the traditions of Eastern religion more than it does Western religion, such as Christianity. Either way, this is how they gain religious exemption status within the states. Since we only had so much time, we couldn't go into all the details about what Scientologists believe and practice, and we only went over the basics, such as Dianetics and some of the spiritual clarity that they seek. However, I was heavily curious about the cult claims when it came to Scientology and the scandals you often see, especially with famous people like Tom Cruise. When we started discussing about this, there were a couple things that stuck out to me. The first one was this. The events director said you should make a distinction between the corporate head of Scientology and the philosophy. He found it disturbing or upsetting that a lot of media focuses on flagship and the C organization, which are the business corporation side of Scientology that overlooks the whole organization. And he says people get caught up in what's going on in the business world of Scientology at the top, which doesn't properly represent the Scientology philosophy, which is found in L. Ron Hubbard's teachings, which you can find on their website and on Amazon and across the board. It's rather open to the public. You can find what L. Ron Hubbard taught, and people should stick to that because that's what Scientologists stick to. Which leads into the next question I asked. Do Scientologists question L. Ron Hubbard's teachings, and do they expound upon them? Are they continually doing more studies to add to L. Ron Hubbard's teachings? The events director gave me an emphatic no. L. Ron Hubbard is the golden rule when it comes to Scientology. He said that people tried to add to L. Ron Hubbard's words, but they all failed. And at this point, there is no attempt to add to what L. Ron Hubbard taught. There is no attempt to make it better. There is no attempt to modify it. It is perfect, basically, the way it is. He was confident that L. Ron Hubbard's teachings were as good as they could get and that no one could make them better. He also asserted that most mental problems, he didn't say all, but he did say most mental problems could be resolved through Dianetics, could be resolved through Scientology teachings, and people would become spiritually more well-rounded and better for it if they followed L. Ron Hubbard's teachings which were, again, as I said, basically unquestionable and could not be improved upon, and there was no attempt to be improved upon them within the Church of Scientology. His teaching was the golden standard for everything they did. The other thing I asked was whether or not Scientology is a stand-alone religion. And the events director told us that Scientology is often intermingled with other religions. So for instance, he said that there's a lot of Scientology members in Philadelphia who are practicing Muslims, who are practicing Christians, and who are practicing other religions outside of Scientology alone. But they can still be a Scientology member as long as they agree to the contract that they sign and practice what Scientologists ask them to practice. And this is possible mainly because they, again, don't hold a strong dogma on the existence of God and who God is, and they don't hold strong dogma on moral codes. They care more about the Dianetics practice, they care more about mental clarity, and they care more about spiritual health in a more pragmatic sense. So, to get to that question I asked in the beginning, is Scientology a cult? In the strictest sense of the word, yes. A cult, by definition, is as follows: a system of religious veneration and devotion directed toward a particular figure or object. Scientology is a religion because of its spiritual practices and claims. Its veneration is centered around one person, L. Ron Hubbard. His teaching is not questioned, his teaching is not being expounded upon, his teaching is the golden rule, and everything within Scientology is L. Ron Hubbard's literature and teaching. They do not move away from that. That is everything that they know. So since it's a religion, and since the veneration is centered around one person, for all technical purposes, it is a cult. Whether or not you interpret that as a good or bad thing is up to the viewer. I will allow the viewer to determine for themselves if they agree with Scientology teaching or not. But for the most strictest sense of the word, it is a cult for those reasons. In conclusion, I enjoyed my experience at the Church of Scientology. The events director was very friendly and very cordial, and we had a great interaction and great discussion. And so from that standpoint, it was very beneficial to talk to him and learn more about Scientology. I also got some Scientology literature at the end there before we left. So I got this book, and I got the bestseller book or whatever, the Dianetics book by L. Ron Hubbard. I might dive into them someday and tell you a little bit of my thoughts. We'll see. It's a lot of material, so I might not get to it anytime soon. But I would enjoy doing that sometime as well, delving into what they actually taught, L. Ron Hubbard taught, and giving you more of my thoughts and insights on that. But overall, had a great experience. It was a lot of fun to talk to the events director, visit Church of Scientology, and just expand my knowledge about their practices. And of course, if you want to learn more about Scientology or delve more into what they think and teach, you can visit their website, you can get their literature. A lot of it is available to you. With that being said, thank you for watching this video and tuning in. I greatly appreciate it. Hopefully you had a great time learning about the Church of Scientology and learning more about what it practices, what it believes, and what it's like to visit. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, comment what you think about Scientology. Is it cool or is it not? Are you a member? Tell me if you are. And I would love to learn more about Scientology if I can. And as always, share this with friends and family, and subscribe if you haven't joined the Light the World community. We love to grow here and learn more about other religions and faiths, and want to continue to share what we learn and these different discoveries and these different adventures with the world. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being with me. And as always, everyone, go out there and light the world, my friends.